on his foot like a balloon, oh it grew. Hashiko's heartbroken, sucked away, it's true. Oh, it taunts the day, a hero in the fray. Bro, his cuz got revenge on his mind today.
What?
MVP's got body bags, counting names. Peyton tall by lots no one can tame. UFC 303, Meat Boy swings to fame. Grilling all the slabs in this heated game.
Episode 178, Meat Boys. Let's go. Before we even break down this week UFC 303 or recap UFC Saudi, quick shout out to the homie Lost Subs. Always grilling and chilling with us. So much love, Lost Subs. And speaking of UFC Saudi, Meat Boy, you went 4-3. I went 5-2. So on paper, it looked like a good, successful week for the Meat Boys. But third straight Meatlock L. Johnny Walker got absolutely snuffed. Easy light work in the first round by Volkan. No time Oezdemir, and essentially it was no time for Johnny's chin. So what do you make of the third straight Meatlock L? What are we going to do to get this on track, Meat Boy?
Yeah, Johnny Walker should be cut. I don't know if he is in debt and he's, getting fake knocked out on purpose, because why are all of his knockouts almost like a cartoon character flailing and floppy doppy? It's just so bizarre. And then when he doesn't get knocked out, he looks all right. Very surprised on how bad he is, on how he can continue to grow to get worse, and have an even more bizarre record of being knocked out in the most bizarre way with the most bizarre animations. Definitely a little sus in my book, but that being said, we missed it on that one. Volkan looked great. I mean, I could not believe on how Volkan looked like he was peaking. It was like, geez, either Johnny Walker's that bad and he makes everyone look like the GOAT, or Volkan just came to fight that night. Very surprised, very sad to see Johnny. Probably he's getting cut. He's just so bad. He's not getting better. Probably BKFC, maybe power slap. He'd probably go there and put on a show. Honestly, Johnny Walker's probably going to power slap after that bout.
Yeah, you said that, and I kind of cringed a little bit. I hate the idea of even throwing Johnny Walker and power slap into the ether, because that to me definitely does seem like a potential outcome, and one that I do not want to see. And you mentioned his kind of cartoonish KO losses, and we're coming down a little bit hard on Johnny Walker, which might be a little crazy because days prior we were pretty bullish. He was the Meatlock, right? But every single time you start to rely on Johnny Walker, he gets cartoonishly knocked out. But then as soon as you write him off, he's going to pick up win after win. So I'm curious to see what he does in his next matchup, and when he comes in as a dog, I'm sure you and I will be picking against him. Maybe Johnny Walker will be back, but add him to the list of unreliable Meatlocks, because he simply could not get it done, and he seemed kind of out of it start to finish. So I don't blame your skepticism as to how to rationalize that behavior, but nonetheless, a third straight Meatlock L. We have to dust it off and head into 303 this week with a fresh start, and we think we have the lock to rectify this Meatlock L streak. But nonetheless, Meat Boy, again, Johnny Walker didn't come through. Your boy Broccoli, he also didn't come through. He actually won a round versus Shara Bullet on one judge's scorecard, but beyond that, it makes sense why Broccoli was a simply fresh meat lock for Shara and the UFC to feed their Bullet guy an easy lock in that one. But what do you think about Antonio Tricoli, the Broccoli man?
Yeah, Broccoli man, I'd be surprised if that guy has no reason to be in the UFC. I don't know, but yeah, I just can't believe. So surprised on how unprepared you could be when you made Dana White Contender Series, you failed the drug test of steroids, and you've just waited for that day. Like, how can you not be prepared? That being said, Broccoli Boy did not look good. You know, darn good for what it was, but it was more just like a heavy bag practice session. It wasn't even a fight. It was just so bizarre to me. Pretty sad that he lost the first round to Broccoli Boy. Pretty pathetic. And that's why I say he's probably top 10 worst fighter in that division. And you put him against a Brendan Allen or somebody real, he's going to be exposed real bad. And I cannot wait for that to happen because I will be making absolute tendies that night.
Yeah, I mean, he did make some improvements in the wrestling takedown defense area, but the two guys he's faced have essentially had no grappling, so you wonder how much of an advancement he really has made, and against a guy like Brendan Allen, against someone with a base so heavy that it seems like he would probably struggle against. But we think maybe a matchup against Chris Curtis could make a lot of sense, and nonetheless, we'll see what his ceiling is, but nonetheless, Kelvin missed weight again. He picked up the W against D-Rod. Kind of a boring fight. Nothing really to recap there. Volkov absolutely smashed Sergey Pavlovich start to finish, and that was one of our better calls of the week. We both had our boy Volkov as a dog, and we essentially said, like, yo, Volkov is a guy who only really loses to the best of the best, and he's a guy that the odds makers and fans alike love to sleep on. So to me, this was the Volkov coming out party. I mean, that was absolute domination, start to finish. He really made Pavlovich look like an amateur out there. So good stuff from us. What did you think of Volkov? And is Sergey Pavlovich just the Russian Tai Tuivasa?
100%. He truly is the Russian Tai Tuivasa, the Russian, Derek Lewis. He is so bad.
Yo, picture Mike.
He is so bad. I could not believe on how bad he looked versus Volkov. Volkov is an absolute G. Looked so sharp. I mean, he just kind of outclassed him from beginning to end. It blows my mind that anybody has ever lost, to Pavlovich. Truly unfortunate for him to go out that way, to be exposed that badly. He just needs to keep fighting a bunch of these heavyweight bums, I guess, and get fancy knockouts because he does have power. We have to give him that. He puts people out. But once you get him past that first round, it's basically a lock in not his favor.
Yeah, and I didn't really like his response after the fight. It seemed like Volkov was trying to, tell his ex-homie good fight and, squash the beef if there was any. Pavlovich shoves him. I don't know, just a lot of L's that Sergey Pavlovich took this weekend in my book, and I think in many others as well. So great stuff from Volkov, great stuff from the Meat Boys. Lastly, Ikram Lokram got absolutely slept in 2 minutes. You were all over that one. You had Robert Whittaker. You had Bobby Knuckles. You said it was a levels test. It proved to be just that. I unfortunately bought the Ikram Lokram hype, and I still do think Ikram Lokram is a sick fighter, but I think it was another one of those situations, Meat Boy. It was basically Abus Magomedov versus Sean Strickland 2, where I'm getting too hyped up on these guys a little bit too early, because as soon as they jump that level, we learn time and time again, there are levels to this game. I mean, it's kind of an old saying at this point, but there's a lot of truth to it. So what did you make of Robert Whittaker? Is he going to get another shot at the title this upcoming year, or does he have to wait a little while? What did you make of Whittaker's performance?
It was an absolute, master class work that he displayed. I mean, it was just light work. I kind of called it from the beginning. I think this is going to be an absolute mauling. And when was the last time Whittaker KO'd somebody? Like 10 years ago? We kind of know where Ikram's at. I do not think he is a Hamzat level guy, but I think he could be a top 15er. And hey, he's young, he's new, he's got a lot of life left, so he could definitely bounce back and get it done. And maybe get another hype train run. Like maybe this is like a reset like Islam had, and then Islam went on a tear after getting knocked out.
Yeah, good stuff. I think that Ikram still has some life. It's just definitely got knocked down a peg for sure. And to answer your question, when was the last time Whittaker picked up a finish? He got a TKO in 2017 against Jacare Souza, but the last time he straight up flatlined someone was against Brad Tavares way back in 2015. So basically a 10-year gap in between KO finishes. So great stuff from Whittaker. He is the true boogeyman, like he said, and an amazing performance from him nonetheless. So any last thoughts on UFC Saudi, Meat Boy, or are you ready to skewer us on over to UFC 303 in the Meatlock?
Yeah, let's skewer our way to the Meatlock. This is an absolute Meatlock, boys. Nonetheless.
Yeah, send us through, and you see the text, you know who it's going to be. I mean, it's difficult for us to see Joe Bodybags Pyfer on a UFC card and not immediately have our brains go straight to this being the easiest meat lock of all time. And to us, Joe Bodybags Pyfer at 12-3, 3-1 in the UFC, and as a pretty decent minus 290 favorite in this one against Marc-Andre Barriault, aka the Power Bar, is a juicy lock for us to get back on track. I think it's fitting, Meat Boy. I mean, we thought Johnny Walker being the 100th meat lock would be the most fitting. Bodybags being the 100th meat lock is the true most fitting outcome. And while the odds aren't great, we think that Joe Bodybags, coming off his first loss to Jack the Joker in a fight where he got outclassed, and he did well early, won those 2 first rounds, and then the fight kind of changed as it went 5. We think that's exactly what Bodybags needed to get his career back on track. And in a 3-round contest against a winnable opponent like the Power Bar in a prelim headlining spot, this just seems too juicy to pass by. But his opponent, the Power Bar, 6-6 in the UFC. I'm a fan of Marc-Andre Barriault. You know I'm always repping the Power Bar, but at plus 235, and as a guy who just is going to have deficiencies when matched up against Bodybags basically everywhere. Like, if you think who's better at striking, it's Bodybags. Who's better at grappling, it's Bodybags. Who's longer, who's taller, who's stronger, who's going to be better everywhere, it's Bodybags. So even though we got respect for the Power Bar, Bodybags edges him everywhere. So what are your thoughts on this meat lock? How do you think that Joe Bodybags Pyfer gets this one done? And is this going to be an easy light work victory royale for our boy Pyfer?
This is going to be a first round KO. This is going to be light work. Power Bar is going to get sent to the Shadow Realm. I mean, Power Bar just lost to Chris Curtis split decision. Bodybags would put Chris Curtis into a milk bag in about 30 seconds, 100%. Bodybags got the reach, size, strength, grappling, speed, power, striking, height. You know, he's got it all beating him. And even he's got the age, and that's where you really got to give it to Bodybags. Bodybags is out there to absolutely wreck somebody. Look at him versus Jack the Joker. First round was phenomenal, and then it just seemed that Jack's a grizzled vet, his wisdom came into play, and he just slowly played at Jack's game and won that. This is a bounce back fight. The UFC is trying to pump this kid. This is an absolute home run, a layup. They would not book this if they weren't trying to pump Joe Pyfer. Once again, another meat lock.
It's a home run, it's a layup, it's a 3-point stroke for sure, and Joe Bodybags Pyfer, we think, especially given the fact that that Joker fight, main event, different pressures, 5-round contest, Pyfer's back to his 3-round domination here, and if you look at Tapology, they don't even think that the 3 rounds are even going to be enough, because Pyfer wins by KO according to Tapology. 90% is rolling with Bodybags, only 10% is going with the Power Bar, and basically all the Pyfer backers, it's Brown for the KO. So do you agree that Pyfer picks up the KO finish in this one? And if so, is it first round, second round, or does this thing maybe become a little bit of a dogfight and then Pyfer has to get a finish?
You know, I think this is going to be first 60 seconds, first round KO, early and often. I think Pyfer's going to go out there looking for skulls and looking for a body bag.
Yeah, and if it's the under 60-second banger, which is your patented move, that wouldn't be the first time that that's happened to the Power Bar, because if you remember that fight against Chidi and Joe Guani, 16 seconds, first punch of the contest, Power Bar was essentially asleep before the fight ever began. So we've seen him succumb early before, and we've seen Pyfer pick up early finishes before. We like Joe Bodybags as the meat lock in this one. Keep it simple, throwing down easy 290 to net 100. Should get us the 100th meat lock. Bodybags is the only way to send us out. So any last thoughts on the meat lock, meat boy?
No, Bodybags a goat. Stay tuned. You hear it here first, and can't wait for another meat lock.
Yeah, because we got to get back on track, meat boy. So nuke us over to the next contest. It's Ricky Simone, 8-4 in the UFC, taking on Vinicius Oliveira, aka the Lock Dog, and the Lock Dog is a dog in this. So I'm gonna ask you: do you think Vinicius Oliveira is a dog lock for the Lock Dog? But nonetheless, Ricky Simone's trying to get back on track. He's lost 2 in a row. Just got smoked by Mario Bautista in a fight that he was the favorite in. Many thought that he would get done, and he essentially did not show up, and that was discouraging given he had just gotten finished by Song Yadong before that. But it's tough to neglect what Ricky Simone was doing prior to this recent 2-fight skid, because He's on a nice 5-fight win streak. He picked up 3 finishes over pretty decent guys. I mean, Jack Shore got finished, Asuncao got finished. He was doing some good stuff, and now he hasn't won since 2022. So you wonder what is left for Ricky Simón. The guy is still young. In theory, could still be entering his prime, and we haven't seen him since January, but he's taken on the Lock Dog, who keeps coming in as a dog and keeps showing to be a dog lock. And he's 1-0 in the UFC, plus 180 in this fight, but he's 19-3 overall and trains with a lot of guys who keep picking up wins. So in this one, are you taking Ricky Simón to get back on track, or is the Lock Dog a dog lock?
Dog lock dog might be a lock, but I just don't think it's today. I think it's going to be a different bout. Ricky Simón is no joke. I think he's going to absolutely smother him. This is a perfect KO versus grappler matchup, and Ricky is no joke when it comes to grappling. I mean, he absolutely ragdolled Merab, which, put that in perspective, that's wild. And I think that's what's going to happen in this one, where Ricky's going to smother him maybe first, second round and get a sneaky TKO or submission later in the second or third round.
Yeah, and the finish could be sharp because Tapology is picking Ricky Simón. 58% is rolling with Ricky, but it's basically all beige. They think that's going to be a 15-minute grind-em-out snooze fest decision win for Ricky, whereas 42%, a decent minority, is rolling with the Lock Dog, and it's basically all brown. So the Oliveira backers think that the Lock Dog is going to pick up a dog lock KO. The Simón backers think decision. So you might be on something with the Simón finish. There could be something there. If you're taking Simón to get a finish, where do you see him having the advantages in this one? Because Oliveira is a guy that trains at Sombra Team MMA. A lot of solid grapplers there, and he is a dude who can win by submission. But do you think the wrestling and just the pace and just the overall pressure of Ricky will be too much for the Lock Dog?
Yeah, I think the pressure, the pace, the strength, I think the grappling has been a big struggle for this guy. Just looking at his record, 16 KOs, 2 submissions, 2 decisions, most likely this guy gets finished. Maybe he knocks out Ricky Simón, but I don't know. I like Ricky in this. I like the style. I like his pace. So I got to go with Ricky on this one. He's really been proved on this.
Yeah, and I think one last thing to add. I'm with you all the way. I'm taking Ricky Simón. I don't know if it's by decision or by finish, but the pick is Ricky for sure. And I think one thing that discouraged me about the Lock Dog is just the level of competition he's been facing, right? I mean, this guy has recent wins over Sylvester Chip Fumbu, Hikaru Yoshino, and then most recently Bernardo Sopai. And these are all pretty low-level fighters and nowhere near the level of Ricky Simón, who is a guy who has been in there with champs, has wins over Merab, wins over Montel Jackson. Like, this dude has some solid wins and has faced a way higher degree of competition. So I like Ricky to get back on track. I do think that the UFC is kind of sending a message to him. The fact that he's the curtain jerker, he's opening this entire card. So I think this is them saying, yo, Ricky, here's your last chance. We'll stick you on 303, but you're going to be fighting in front of 800 hardcores in Vegas who show up for the first fight. So a good opportunity for Ricky to get back on track and a winnable opponent for sure. So I'll officially go Ricky by decision. Any last thoughts on that one?
No, I 100% like that. Ricky's definitely going to win, but how does he? We shall find out.
Yeah, we shall find out, meat boy. Saute us to the next one because Peyton Talbot is a minus 1,600 hype train favorite in this one, taking his 8-0 undefeated record up against Giannis Gamori, a 12-2 French fighter who is plus 900. And this one's been interesting because Peyton Talbot opened around minus 900. People were already very bullish, but the fact that it's doubled and the line is now minus 1,600 really showcases the hype surrounding this kid and the belief that perhaps, I mean, I don't know if it's indicative of Peyton being the next champ, but it's definitely indicative of them thinking that Giannis Gamori is going to have absolutely nothing for this kid to offer. And it's pretty interesting because we haven't seen much of Peyton, but what we have seen of him has been impressive for sure. So, I mean, I guess we'll keep it simple, meat boy. The odds are what they are. Is Peyton Talbot a justified minus 1,600 lock in this one? And I know you are picking Peyton, does he get it done in the first round?
I mean, I don't know if I have to explain myself. The odds show it enough. Everyone now is on the Peyton Talbot hype train. They go from, he's, a dog to a favorite to a mega, like, higher than Nunes favorite, which is crazy. Talbot, he's a future GOAT, future champ. He's been looking insane, and I think this will be another beautiful display of his, his skill. I think he might even play with him a bit. It seems that he really is takes his time and just likes to put a beating on his opponents. He's kind of a sicko, and I love it.
Yeah, he's very methodical in there and does seem to play with his food a little bit, and I anticipate that being the case in this one. And because of that, I sort of like the over 1.5 and then the Peyton finish, because maybe this looks a little bit like O'Malley versus Moutinho. I believe we were there live, and a fight where Moutinho somehow managed to survive and make it to the third round, and O'Malley really just playing with his food and getting that ring time. And when Peyton Talbot is getting these first round finishes, perhaps a longer fight could be in his best interest, especially with all these eyes, all this hype, and these odds being what they are. So I like Peyton to get a late second or early third round finish. So Peyton in the over 1.5 is the play for me. 98% is rolling with Talbot. It's basically all brown, obviously for that KO. 2% is rolling with the Desert Warrior, but the fight's in Vegas. The fight is in the scorching desert, but Peyton Talbot is a native of Reno, Nevada. He lives in the fire, whereas the Desert Warrior is here on vacation and ready to get burned. So I'm taking Talbot by late finish. Any last thoughts on that one?
No, I like that. I can totally see that. He does seem to really pick them apart, and either they quit or he gets that second, third round KO by just absolutely pummeling them. So yeah, KO is definitely the look.
KO for Peyton. Move us over, Meat Boy. This is another fun one. Bad vibes or good vibes, we shall see. It's Andre Touchy-Fili, 23-11-1. A minus 245, pretty decent favorite, coming up against the 40-year-old fighter, Cub Swanson, the OG, the legend. And Cub is actually at plus 200, coming in off a recent win against Hakeem Dawodu. It was his return to featherweight, and it was a fight that, yes, he won, but most people thought that Hakeem did enough to win. I think it was something like 11 out of 13 media members picked Hakeem as the winner of that fight. But
Sup for the beef and meat, indeed. Sup for the beef and meat, indeed. Sup for the beef and meat, indeed.
for Cub, he's been alternating wins and losses since 2020, and Cub Swanson's just a levels test, right? He's a guy who's got no deficiencies. He's well-rounded everywhere, and Andre Touchy-Fili is kind of a similar case, although Fili just got slept most recently against Dan Ige in the first round back in February. So what are your thoughts on this matchup? On paper, Touchy-Fili should be faster, stronger, better everywhere, but are you at all concerned that the fact that he just got absolutely flatlined and the fact that Cub Swanson can crack, is that a recipe for a dog upset for Cub?
You know, you can never sleep on Cub. Cub somehow is still performing at a high level. That being said, I don't know. Andre Fili, you know, he's the hardest hitting 145er in the division according to Max Holloway, so it would not surprise me if he gets this done. But, you know, he got snuffed by Dan Ige, a person that's significantly smaller. Do worry about that. But I gotta imagine that Andre Fili, this is his comeback fight. I mean, Andre Fili is still so young. He's 33. It's like, holy crap, he's been here for so long. But Cub's been here for longer, and he is 40. So I think age is going to get him in this one, and I think Andre Fili is going to win. I think it's going to be a close fight, though. Cub's an OG. He's a veteran. He's got a lot of experience, and that's what's going to keep him in the fight. But I think Andre Fili's, drive to come back from this loss, his age and youth, I think he should get this done.
Yeah, good stuff there. Age and youth could be huge in this one, and Tapology's kind of singing a similar tune. 59% rolling with Touchy-Fili, 41% rolling with Killer Cub Swanson, and it's basically all beige on both sides. So do you agree with Tapology that this fight likely goes to the decision, and if so, you're taking Fili?
Yeah, I can see it going decision. I gotta take Fili on that for decision. Maybe a KO, but it just, I don't know, it feels for this matchup that whoever wins, it's going to be a decision.
Yeah, I buy that. I think this fight's going to be closer than what the odds suggest. I'm taking Touchy-Fili to win a close decision, maybe even a split, because I can see Cub winning some rounds, getting the crowd hyped up, and perhaps influencing the judges a little bit with that hometown legend appeal. But officially, I'll take Touchy-Fili to get back on track. I'll take him by decision. Any last thoughts on that featherweight Mita?
No, it's a good fight. Can't wait for it. Throw in the comments. Bad vibes?
Yeah, let us know if it's bad vibes for Killer Cub Swanson. And in the next one, Meat Boy, broil us over because I want to know if it's bad vibes for Michael Venom Page because he just came and absolutely smoked Kevin Holland start to finish. A fight I was very surprised by. I thought that Kevin Holland would show a UFC level to the Bellator guy, but the opposite was displayed. And now they're putting him up against Ian Gary, the undefeated phenom, 14-0, the guy who really hasn't been tested too much in the UFC. The last fight he fought against was against Jeff Neal, and that was a split decision, but a kind of very defensive-minded contest, one that was a little bit of a stare fest, kind of reminded me of Francis versus the Black Beast, but nonetheless, it was officially a split decision for Ian Gary, but his perfect record stays intact, and now he takes on MVP, and the odds are close. It's basically a pick-em, despite Ian Gary being just a slight favorite, so stylistically, both these dudes are pretty similar. You gotta imagine they're coming to stand and bang. Who do you lean on as having the stand-up advantages, and who are you taking in this matchup?
I gotta take MVP. I think MVP, he put a clinic on Kevin Holland, and he's gonna put another clinic on Machado. Mr. Machado is gonna get sent to the Shadow Realm. I think he gets KO'd or it goes decision convincingly for MVP.
KO or convincing decision for MVP over Machado Gary is Meat's take. And if you do think that MVP can pick up a finish against Ian Gary, what gives you inspiration for that being an outcome? Because the only time we've seen Ian Gary really hurt in the UFC was when he got absolutely rocked by Song Kanan first round of that fight. But he did recover well, and obviously he didn't get slept and ended up getting the finish of his own. So what makes you bullish that MVP can be the guy not only to give Machado Gary his first L, but to do it via knockout?
If he knocks him out, that's going to make... MVP's already a megastar. It's going to put him into a superstar category because Mr. Machado is definitely got a lot of hype behind him. He's definitely a very solid fighter. But after seeing him lose to Jeff Neal, even though the judges were paid hacks, I just don't see how he's going to be able to compete with the level at MVP. MVP showed that he is the real deal when he fought Kevin Holland because Kevin Holland is no joke. He is truly the ultimate gatekeeper, and Kevin Holland has embraced that recently.
Yeah, he has, and we'll have to talk more about that later on sometime because I think that's kind of a cool move from Kevin Holland nonetheless, or at least his perspective towards it. But nonetheless, last question, Meat Boy. We're anticipating this to be primarily a striker's affair, right? Ian Gary loves to maintain distance and pick guys apart. MVP does the exact same thing. Any chance we see some grappling in this one? Is there any chance Ian Gary decides to pressure him up against the cage and showcase another level of his game that he hasn't yet? Or do you anticipate this being an opportunity for Ian Gary to prove that he's the best striker at one?
I think he's going to try to prove that he's the best striker, in his weight class. But if he does try to grapple, I think that's a genius idea. But MVP has fought top level grapplers. I can't imagine Machado is going to be this elite grappler overnight and be able to just ragdoll him on command. So I just don't see it being a good plan if he does try it. But it wouldn't surprise me if he does shoot for a leg after he gets tapped up a bunch.
Yeah, I buy that. Ragdolling on command probably seems a little bit like a pipe dream, but I do hope that we see a little bit more of Ian Gary's game in this contest, rather, because it's going to be interesting if he has those advantages there. But I'm actually going to be going Ian Gary in this one, Meat Boy. I hate to roll with Machado Gary, and I'm looking at Tapology, and I'm very surprised by this. Ready to get your take. 63% is going with MVP. Only 37% is rolling with Gary, but Gary is the favorite, and of the 63% MVP backers, there's a big chunk for the KO. So you're not alone in thinking that Machado Gary is getting slept in this one. Do you think that those Tapology metrics are a little bit skewed by the fact that Ian Gary has 0 fans at this?
Yeah, if I had to say, most likely Ian Gary really has went from hero to zero. Usually it's 0 to hero, but he has gone total opposite on this. Truly unfortunate. He's just missed every social cue the fans have given him. He's just missed on all the fans that he should be, going for, and he's basically just ruined his whole fan base and his whole career by being Deluge and letting someone from his team kind of run this show. Truly unfortunate to see a talent like that. Most likely he's going to get in his head, and then Michael Venom Page is going to knock him out because Michael Venom Page has been around forever. He's a veteran. He knows what's up, and Ian Gary's probably going to crumble to the knees of Michael Venom Page's presence, while all of Ian Gary's old fans are now MVP fans.
Yeah, good stuff there, and perhaps accurate. I mean, we know how MMA fans go, though. You know, it's up and down. One day they love you, the next they hate you. So while yes, there is a lot of reputation rebuilding necessary for Gary at this point, you never know. These things change pretty quickly in this sport. We're doing this meet down. It's a Monday meet down, but the press conference will be later this week. I'm curious to see what Ian Gary looks like there, and hopefully, fingers crossed, Ian Gary shows up to that press conference, because in this space in between meet down and press conference, we've seen Gary bail before, so let's see where his head's at there. But I gotta go Gary, Meat Boy. I think that the youth is going to be huge in this 26 versus 37, and I think Gary's going to have a speed advantage, which might sound crazy because MVP is fast and the dude seemingly has better timing than anyone, but I think Gary is that good. So we'll see. I'm taking Gary. I'll go by decision. You got MVP, finished or decision? Last call.
Yeah, I gotta go MVP. Probably decision, but I could see an upset KO. I don't think people are going to expect MVP to KO Ian Gary. I think it's more going to be a decision, put on a clinic, but I could totally see first, second round KO.
First and second round KO, book it for Meat. He says that Machado Gary's getting slept. So switch us over to the next one, Meat Boy. It's another fighter that I know you love to pick. Anthony Lionheart Smith, plus 124, is taking on Roman Dolidze, who is 12-3, traditionally a middleweight fighter, but we can't neglect the fact that this dude used to fight at light heavyweight. He was the WWFC light heavyweight champ back in the day, so while he doesn't have UFC experience in this weight class, he does have some professional experience nonetheless. And this has been an interesting fight, right? Because, I mean, if you really backtrack, this was, let's see if we can get this right. This was originally a fight between Jamal Hill versus who?
Jamal Hill versus...
This was originally Jamal Hill versus the dude in the Rock Man.
Blackjack.
No, he filled in. It was Jamal Hill versus... Khalil Roundtree, my bad. It was Jamal Hill versus Khalil Roundtree, right? Then it became Jamal Hill versus Carlos Ulberg.
Yes.
Then it becomes Carlos Ulberg versus Lionheart. Now it becomes Lionheart versus Roman Dolidze. So two dudes that 3 weeks ago weren't even supposed to be on this card, and now are three fights from the top. So an interesting matchup. Both dudes essentially come in off late notice. Lionheart having a little bit way more experience in the UFC, at least at this weight class, though. So do you think Lionheart, as a plus 124 dog, has some life, and do you like the light heavyweight aspect for him, or is what you saw from Roman pre-UFC and what you've seen from him, even though he's at middleweight in the UFC, enough for you to pick him against Lionheart?
Yeah, you'd be surprised on this pick because, Lionheart, he looked real good versus Vitor Petrino, and that's a no-joke fight. But he lost to Khalil Roundtree, which is a little sus. Beat Ryan Spann, that's a great one. Lost to Johnny Walker, which that is questionable at the highest level, and that was just a year ago. So just assessing that, you'd be surprised, but I think I gotta go with Roman Dolidze. You couldn't pay me to pick Anthony Lionheart Smith. This dude is such a bum. He goes, I'm gonna beat Roman off Dolidze, and then I'm fighting Pereira for that title. I'm the best. It's like, dude, you should probably be fired from the mic, from the table after hours, and just go to power slap at this point. Anthony Delusional Lionheart Smith, he should go back and drink his Smirnoff icings and never enter the octagon again. And Roman Dolidze is going to expose that. It just happened to be that Vitor Petrino was a bigger bum. Lionheart's only way to victory is it's got to go 3 rounds. The longer the fight goes, the better will be for him, because Roman's never been this heavy and gone a full 3 rounds, right? At least in the UFC. So it'll be very interesting, but I gotta imagine Roman Dolidze's grappling should be significantly better. There's no way he's getting subbed. So then it comes down to striking. Roman's got pretty darn solid striking. I gotta go with Roman, and I gotta go with KO first round.
KO first round for Roman Dolidze over Lionheart to me is a bullish take, but nonetheless, you bring up some good points. You touched on the gas tank deficiencies that Roman Dolidze has seen, and you wonder how the weight will play into it, right? Because we've seen him struggle in the second, third, definitely the fourth and fifth round at 185. So is that part of the weight cut, could you argue? And at 205, that's actually his better weight class? Or is he going to be coming in with a lot of, you called him Romanov, he might be coming in with a little bit of too much Romanov energy, if you catch my drift, and he gasses out in the first round. We'll see how that one goes for sure, but I don't know, Meat Boy, a first round finish against Lionheart to me sounds crazy, because I know you don't like to pick Lionheart, and it's fair to criticize some of the ambitions that Lionheart might have at the moment, but the guy is pretty durable and rarely gets finished early. So what, on short notice in a foreign weight class, gives you optimism that Roman Dolidze is the guy that finishes Lionheart early when no one else can?
I mean, it's Lionheart, right? I mean, he lost to Johnny Walker. Like, I don't think there's much to be said beyond that. He got lucky with Bum Petrino, which I picked, unfortunately. That was a big upset. But we just didn't know that Bum Petrino was built for BKFC. But everybody knows Smith is built for power slap. So after he gets sent to the shadow realm from Romanov Dolidze, that's where he's going.
Romanov Dolidze is crazy, but I love it. However, you say we, and don't forget, your boy picked Lionheart at plus 375 over Vitor pre-limo. I was telling everyone that Petrino was pre-limo, and Lionheart as a dog cashed on that one. Low-key, I think he would have cashed against your boy Black Jag too, but nonetheless, Black Jag broke his pinky toe and dipped out. But nonetheless, Meat Boy, I think this is a similar story where people are sleeping on Lionheart. The odds makers are always sleeping on Lionheart. To me, he's like a Curtis Blades low-key lock, or a Bilal Muhammad perhaps, where the guy is going to pick up wins against these unproven hype beasts. And I don't think Roman Dolidze has done enough throughout his career yet to justify as even a favorite in this one, and rationalize in the slightest as a guy who can finish Lionheart, especially early. So I'm not buying it from Roman. I think the dude is a decision machine, and ultimately I think Lionheart is actually going to pick up another finish of his in this one. I like second or third round submission for Anthony Lionheart Smith. And yes, the first couple minutes might be sketchy. Anthony Lionheart loves to eat those heavy punches in the first few minutes, but he wears them, he zombifies, he presses forward, and ultimately he out-levels and out-grinds all these guys. So I'm taking Lionheart again to pick up a W as a dog, and I like him to get a finish. So am I tripping, or did you just have something against Lionheart?
No, I have nothing against Lionheart. It's just when you see that fight against Johnny Walker, it just explains how bad and washed up he is. He's had some good wins. He had that title run. John Jones. He beat John Jones, but then he decided to let John Jones win for whatever reason. He could have been the champion, but since then, he's just been on a downtrend. So I don't know why he thinks he's fighting for the title next. He'll never fight for the title unless it's power slap.
We shall see what title fight is in Lionheart's future for sure, but hey, you never know. If he does something impressive, and he's probably the only dude on the card who will have any sort of, maybe not mic skills, but mic awareness, if he can pull something out of his sleeve and insert himself into that title picture, then that could be funny for sure. I'll take the homie Lionheart by finish. You got Dolidze by finish. Swap us over, Meat Boy. We got 2 to go, and another late addition to this card, but probably one of the sickest fights on the card. Brian T. City Ortega, 6-3 in the UFC, a plus 120 dog, is coming up against Diego Lopez Up, who is the former JFL featherweight champ. He's the former XFL featherweight champ. He's the former Lux Fight League featherweight champ. I mean, this dude was champ after champ in every organization he's ever fought in, and it seems like this dude has a UFC trajectory that might earn himself another belt. This guy's on a beautiful 3-fight win streak. No fight has gone longer than 1 minute and 39 seconds. He has 3 straight first-round finishes with less than 5 minutes of combined fight time, so he's getting in there, he's exposing guys early and often, and he's exposing guys that are pretty dang good. I mean, Pat Slabatini, not a bad UFC fighter, performance of the night lock for Diego, and then most recently, and perhaps most impressively, as a dog against Sadiq Youssef, who was on a fat tear himself. No one was touching Sadiq Youssef, and Diego Lopez Up comes in and sleeps him in 90 seconds. So T-City we know as a guy who has fought for the title before. He's dealt with these unique pressures, and he's coming in himself off a nice performance of the night finish over Yair Rodriguez, and fight that I think some people kind of forgot of, but he looked great in that fight. He really looked revamped, and it was good to see him get the revenge from the 2022 loss that he had against Yair, which ended in a controversial fashion. Is what you saw from T-City in his recent contest just a few months ago enough for you to pick him against Diego Lopez in this one, or are you finally on the Diego Lopez hype train after what he did to?
You know, I can't be on the Diego Lopez hype train yet. Diego Lopez, there's no way he's going to out-grapple or submit Brian Ortega. If he does, then I'm all aboard. I am jumping on the pole. We're riding the Diego Lope train to the end till he gets that gold. But, man, this is a big jump of levels test. Diego Lopes went from Pat Slavowini to, Sadiq Youssef. That's not even close to Ortega. They're solid guys. Gavin Tucker, pretty solid. He did have that close fight with Mobzar, but let's be honest, Mobzar hasn't fought anyone really also besides Brendan Allen, which that's a solid one too. But he hasn't fought no T-City, man. And I think this is where people forget how good T-City is. And I think this is where he's going to show it. His boxing's crispier than ever. His grappling's crispier than ever. He submitted Yair Rodriguez third round. Beautiful display. And I think this would be very similar. People are all hype on the Diego Lopes. The card collectors I feel sorry for because the train is coming off the tracks when T-City is in town. I think he's going to actually finish Diego Lopes second or third round.
Yeah, just to backtrack a little bit, Mobzar versus Brendan Allen, an absolute classic that none of us could ever forget. But you made a lot of great points about T-City. You said that the tracks are coming off of the Diego train, and I guess I'm just curious, what do you think is going to be Diego Lopez's downfall in this one? Is it going to be Brian T-City is very difficult to finish in the first 90 seconds, and the longer this fight goes, the experience of Ortega will show, or is the grappling going to pay dividends? Is T-City going to have a striking advantage? Like, where do you see Brian T-City having the advantages in this one against Diego?
Yeah, so T-City's definitely not going to have the advantage in size because he's about 8 inches shorter. That being said, he's a lot more skilled and a better tactician. And I mean, he's fought the best of the best. I mean, he's fought Yair Rodriguez, Alexander Volkanovski, Korean Zombie, Max Holloway. He's fought all these insane legends. Win, loss, draw, whatever it is, he still has that experience, unlike Diego Lopes, and I think that's where he's going to win. It would not surprise me if Brian Ortega gets a finish. I could see Diego thinking he can out-grapple him or maybe submit him, and I think Brian's just going to butter flow around him and gas Lopes out, and then Lopes is going to go, crap, I'm cutting too much weight, I need to go up to 170, and I think he'll make a nice run at 170.
Yeah, I wonder how sustainable Lopez is at 145, but I mean, the dude keeps making weight with ease and has fought there essentially his entire career, so I don't know. Somehow it's working for him. You did mention the size, though. Ortega's about 5'8", 145, and Diego Lopez is about 6 foot and going to be coming in at essentially 170. I mean, the dude is massive for the division, and that's where I really see him having the advantage in the grappling. You mentioned that maybe Ortega has the advantages there. I don't know, dude. I think that Lopez wrestling is that sick, and I think his strength is going to be imminent in this one if he's able to get on top of T-City. And while, yes, T-City has an insane guard and will be throwing up triangles and will be offensive from that position for sure, I think that Diego Lopez training with Alexa Grasso, training with Brandon Moreno, training with all these Mexican fighters who are pretty nasty on the ground themselves, I think that practice will be enough for him to not be threatened by Ortega's offense down there, and as a result, I like Diego to get this one done. I think that at minus 142, these are juicy odds. I almost think he's a lock, Meat Boy. I think he's a Lopez up lock, and I think Ortega, I mean, I read over the weekend, Ortega's moved up to 155. He essentially was told by Dana and Brass that there's no title trajectory for him at featherweight. We know the history with OGM. We know the holdup with Topuria not wanting to fight anyone. Max Holloway's going to get shots. I mean, there's no way for TC to get title shots. So he was already saying he's going up to 155. I think that on 2 weeks' notice, now having to sort of get back to that 145 state of mind, and I think the weight cut might be difficult. I don't know. I think this is a recipe for disaster for T-City, and the UFC is really setting up their boy Diego for another statement win, because I think that it's full steam ahead, to reference the train that you alluded to, and I think the UFC is pumping Diego so hard to where they're creating an opportunity that's too good to pass up for him in this one, and I like him to actually get a finish. So I'm taking Diego by third round finish. I think T-City gets overwhelmed and absolutely smashed. I'm fully aboard the Diego hype train. Am I just going full Ikram Lockram?
I think this one might be an icky Rocky, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just off and I'm hating on the Lopes, man. But I don't know. Lopes lost to, Brito, who's about 4 inches shorter than Brian Ortega. So I just don't really worry about the size and, height factor. And I think Ortega is another level compared to Brito, even though Brito's no joke. So I just think this could be a one-sided mauling. I'm so surprised to see everyone forgot how good Ortega is, and I'm excited for him to shine. That this is the new Ortega. He's single again, and he's mean, and he's looking for that cash and some green.
Yeah, single focused mean and looking for the green. And last week you were all over Whitaker, the OG, the levels test, where I was on Ikram, and we saw how that went. That could be the same case here for sure, but I'm riding the hype train for now. Let us know in the comments, is it an icky Rocky and Diego's getting smoked, or is Diego the real deal and getting this one done? But swap us over, meat boy. The last one, it's Poatan, the card saver, former middleweight champ, the current light heavyweight champ, stepping in and filling the shoes of Conor McGregor, who hurt his toe. And at minus 155 and as the champ with a win over this guy already, a lot of people are pretty bullish on Poatan, but we've seen Yuri Prohaska, who is 4-1 in the UFC, his lone blemish coming to the champ Alex Pereira, and this obviously is the rematch. We've seen Yuri really rebound well after that KO loss, because against Rakic just a couple months ago, he picked up performance of the night, and that was pretty beautiful. Those early moments, he was kind of getting touched up a little bit, but he weathered the storm, he kept pressing forward, and ultimately he broke Alexander Rakic. And since then, we've heard about 72-hour fast in the darkness where he's only drinking water, he's eating no food, he's punching the heavy bag. I mean, this dude is built different. He is a true samurai on a different level, and Poatan's been doing the world tour, really soaking in this A-list celebrity status that he has essentially earned in about 18 months' time. Do you think there's a different level of focus coming into this contest, and Jiri as a plus 130 dog has some life, or is Poatan, the card saver, simply that goated and he's going to finish Jiri again?
This is where, I think we talked about it the first time they fought. It's like, just like Hill, just like Yuri, if you try to strike and bang with Alex Pereira, you were 90% chance going to get snuffed. There's only one man that was ever successful one time out of the 5 or 6 times they fought, and that was Izzy with the most YOLO punch, luckiest hit ever. And then he got smoked by Strickland after. So you just can't really take that YOLO win with too much credibility. No one has beaten Pereira round for 5 rounds in the stand-up game and survived to tell the tale. Yuri tried, and look what happened. He got TKO'd by elbow, second round. Yuri really needs to mix up the mixed martial arts, throw some punches, but go in for those double legs, those single legs. And I think Yuri in the darkness, leveling up in the hyperbolic chamber,
I basically just got out of the hyperbolic
by
time
himself
chamber
for weeks with no food. I just don't know how this alien could ever lose. So Pereira, I think, got lucky in the first fight. I think Yuri is going to not go to Pereira's game plan and stick to his own, which is wild, chaotic, and lots of grappling and mixing it up. If he tries to go strike for strike, yeah, he's going to get knocked out once again. Yuri's chin is low-key sus, but it's held up until Mr. Pereira came around. So I'm very excited for this fight. I cannot wait. This is an absolute banger to replace baby pinky toe Connor. And I gotta go with Yuri. He's gonna stick to the game plan, not lose his IQ in MMA, and not try to stand up and bang.
Yeah, I really hope he mixes it up too, because we're often talking about Jiri's grappling and his wrestling and how well-rounded he is, but does like to go out and stand and bang. It's just that sort of samurai instinct he has, and it's when it creates the most danger for him. So I hope he mixes it up too, although it's always fun when those are just standing and banging. And the first time these two dudes fought, in my opinion, it's the greatest stare down in UFC history. Simply just mugging each other from across the octagon. So I hope we get something similar in this one again. But it's the rematch, and I'm with you all the way, Meat Boy. Tapology's going with Pereira. It's 75% going with Poatan. 25% is taking Yuri, and it's basically all brown on all sides. So the fans think that this is ending by KO finish, but it's overwhelmingly in Pereira's favor. But I like Prohaska. I like your points about him studying in the darkness, and it just seems like this is the opportunity to create a trilogy. Because Poatan, I mean, he's 36 years old, about to be 37. You wonder how many years he has at this champ rate, and he's had just this like meteoric rise, just start to finish lock to the title, and I want to see this become a lethal trilogy for the UFC to pump, because Pereira vs. Prohaska is truly epic, and with this context, with this being a Conor card, International Fight Week, these two dudes coming together to essentially save this card, a trilogy will be absolutely massive. So in this WWE era, I lean Prohaska to emerge with a victory, and I think he's picking up a finish. So I'm rolling with you all the way, Meat Boy. I'm taking Yuri. If he does pick up the KO finish, and honestly, I think it's worth inspecting the submission too, because we've seen him be pretty crafty and clever down there, and maybe it's a club and sub type opportunity, and you're getting plus 700 or something crazy for Prohaska sub. I think that's worth inspection too. But if you're taking Prohaska by KO or maybe YOLO sub finish, is it going to be first round, second round, or is it going to be a little bit later?
You know, if he does get the sub, I could totally see it being, you know, early and often. But also I could see it in the 5th round. He did it to Glover, fully gassed. I don't know. It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be fun. I cannot wait. But I just know if Yuri tries to stand and kickbox, he's going to get the Jamal Hill treatment. He's going to get the Jury second round 2.0. I mean, Jury had a good game plan round 1, and then round 2, I think that confidence went to his head. It's like, oh, maybe I can stand up and bang. It's like, no, you got to mix it up, take him down at will like he did before, and ground and pound, get the sub, just tire him out, slow sizzle. I could totally see like a 4th or 5th submission. That would be a very nice play. I bet the odds are juicy, and I could totally see that happening.
Yeah, I like that a lot, and Glover in the corner to witness it all firsthand. I think that there are some interesting ideas that you're working with there, Meat Boy, for sure. Let us know in the comments if you are taking the Tapology backers, you're rolling with Vegas, you're taking Pereira to pick up a second straight victory over Yuri, or is this the Yuri opportunity to get his belt back, get his revenge in his only UFC loss, and propel an epic trilogy in the future? Should be fun, Meat Boy. You and I both roll with Yuri. Early finish is the play. Any last thoughts on UFC 303, Meat Boy?
No, this is a great card, a fun card. Boy, am I glad I didn't drop $2,000 on nosebleeds for Conor, and buy flights, hotels, etc. Happy to watch this one from home on the big TV, but still going to be a sick card live. So pumped for all the people that go there. But yeah, I can't wait. Make sure smash that subscribe. Throw who you taking. Are you taking Yuri, or is Pereira just got to knock him out to the Shadow Realm once again?